Hi, Scott Stankowski here from Central Wisconsin Sports. Just had a successful hunt. Now we're going to show you how to gut out a deer properly. A lot of butcher shops where you bring your deer in to get cut up complain a lot because there are a lot of deer brought in where the hunter doesn't know what he's doing, and hopefully this will help alleviate some of that for those of you that aren't quite too keen or too sure on how to do it. This will hopefully help you in the future. Okay, first step in gutting out a buck is you want to remove the male reproductive glands. And the urethra will go all the way down to the anus, so you have to cut that all out. Keep going all the way. Here's the mistake people make, is that they cut through this right away instead of cutting around it. You got to cut around it, otherwise the bladder will be stuck inside of the deer, and then you'll have urine all over your meat. Okay, the second step is to remove the rear end, making sure not to get too much fecal matter on the deer. This is a delicate job right here for Central Wisconsin Sports. The first cuts, you get the tissue around there, then you want to get the knife. And as far as the knife will go, and cut around because there's some connective tissue so that it'll come out nice and clean. Next thing you want to do is make an incision from the belly up. Always important to have a good helper holding the legs for you, and Dan has that said helper here.
That deer.
Using the gut hook knife.
Man, it's a fat one.
Cut the hair first, that's your problem. As you are cutting the deer's, it's important to get a good hole in the deer's guts, and then so the gases can come out, and then you can make an incision. If you got a nice strong knife, go right through the ribs. It's a nice 1.5-year old buck, cull buck we call it. Needed to be removed from the herd. Next step is to cut the diaphragm. The diaphragm runs on both sides of the deer. You can see Dan's holding onto it right behind the breastbone there. Runs on both sides of the deer. You cut on either side of that. First he's cutting on that side, now he'll go and cut the other side right after that. As far back as he can reach in there. It's much easier to get in there if you go through the ribs. Now he's going to reach in up in front of the lungs and the heart. And he's going to make a nice cut up there with the knife. Pull some of this out. You got to be very careful here as he reaches in not to cut himself. Takes his time. Reaches in there, cuts the esophagus and the trachea. Now most of the cutting should be done. We like to bring our guts straight back. Heart and the stomach, there you can see his liver, the deer's liver by the left hand. All that has to come through then is the rectum. There's the bladder. You can see that we got that bladder out nice and clean. No problems. Last thing to check is just to double check to make sure that there is nothing in between the hole back there that would rot and cause bacteria to come in. Get out a little extra fat. You can see the tenderloins in there, look beautiful. We got no spillage, no guts. This is what I call an A+ job of gutting out a deer. Last thing to do is to drain it, take it into registration. Make sure you get as much of that excess blood out as you can. Once the reproductive parts are removed, it is a sacred tradition to hang the parts in a tree and say,
Luck for the future.
the last and final step that we're going to show you today is throwing the deer in the back of the four-wheeler. Now typically this is done by two people. But you see, when you got Dan Stankowski here, former D1 football player,
Whatever, getting old.
it's done that easy.
Yeah.
Always cleaning up the mess so it's ready to go next time. Austin's cleaning up the drag rope.